a pony knowledge by. Oh, better. I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable too. Your horse racing fantasy comes true. But no, Stable Duel.
Download the Stable Duel app and play today.
Good Friday morning to you. Friday the 13th. Ooh, spooky out there. Barry, how you doing this morning, Sniper?
Hanging in there. How you doing, man?
Doing well. As some of you who are following along with the racing may have heard that there's been a lot of wet weather out here in Southern California over the last couple of weeks. And so the schedule of racing has been a little bit wonky. They've already gone ahead and canceled Saturday racing for Santa Anita. So, and they're supposed to race today, Friday. They have not had a lot of rain over the last 24 hours. So today right now looks pretty good for Friday. And I think the races should remain intact on the grass. Saturday's already canceled. And it sounds like both Sunday and Monday are kind of on hold. I don't think they're going to push if there's a lot of rain. And that's smart, Barry, I think for a couple reasons. Obviously, Santa Anita had a lot of issues just a few years ago with wet weather, with a track where they were trying to force some days in and there were horses that were breaking down and all sorts of injuries. And of course, the safety of the horses first, that's the most important thing. And then two, when you have a really long meet like Santa Anita and they run all the way through June, a day or two here and there aren't as pivotal as like a short meet, losing a day or two. It'll just make the field sizes a little bit bigger when they do run early on.
Yeah, it seems like it's the right thing to do,
Yep.
For everybody. I mean, there really isn't much going on this weekend anyway, as far as racing, like no major stakes, anything like that. It's kind of a little bit of a lull. So this is probably a good time for something like that to happen so they can just kind of skip over it and just keep it moving.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive into Friday, Gulfstream, Friday, Santa Anita, and then Saturday, Gulfstream Park. If you're hanging out with us and watching this show, we'll be dishing out best bets. We're always using horses that are 5-1 and up. We're in the no chalk zone. We'll get you all set up for the best way to play the Stable Duel races in those contests this weekend. And I'll pull up the daily racing form right now. We can dive on into Gulfstream Park for Friday and take a look. So if you're playing Stable Duel, actually had won the Penn National contest on Wednesday night earlier this week. So got some ammo in the Stable Duel account right now. You can play at Gulfstream Park. There's a $5 game and there's a $50 triple up. You could also play at Santa Anita for a $100 game or a $5 game. And then at Tampa, there's a $25 game. So for, $35, you could play at Gulfstream, Tampa, and Santa Anita. All three tracks, super affordable. Get involved. And we're going to do our best to help you along the way. So, Barry, we'll kick things off at Gulfstream Park. I'm looking at races 1, 5, and 6, and you're going to go 4, 5, and 8. So I'll get things started at Gulfstream Park today for us right off the bat. We do got to give a shout out to our buddy, Matt DeSantis.
Maddie.
We always miss when Maddie's not here with us or when one of the crew is not around. Matt's got to get some work done today, but we'll see Maddie back. I know that. work. He's got the real work, but Maddie is sharp enough that hopefully in the next couple of years, this will be the only work that Matt needs to be doing here in the racing world. Now, Barry, let's talk race number 1. I'm looking at a 7.5 furlong turf race here. The horse I'm looking at is the number 4, Away From Home. So this guy is now raced 5 times. He's a 4-year-old, and his last 3 races, he's shown speed going longer, going 1.25 miles, going 1.1 miles, going 1.16 miles. He's been forwardly placed in all 3 of those races. And in the races against maiden claimers, he's shown obvious improvement. And it's not even really like he's run all that much different type races. He's just faced softer company, and now he's been more competitive. So he's going to try the turf for the first time here. And I thought he was a little bit interesting because if you look at his dam, was a winner on the turf. In fact, all 4 of the turf starts were very good. Was a winner, a runner-up, third, and then came back and finished second again. The final effort was a 5th place finish in the last race of this 4-year-old mare's career. But She was good on the grass. In fact, the first time she stepped foot on the turf, she ended up winning. And she's produced a couple of siblings, a couple foals that have not won on the turf, but they've showed turf ability. Look at Mischievous Champ, who only raced on the turf a few times and at pretty good levels, was third against maiden specials, was third against maiden special weights, was a runner-up in a first level allowance race at Gulfstream Park. Those are good races, and this horse has some turf ability. Same thing with the other sibling that didn't win on the turf, but was the third place finisher on the turf at Indy and actually ran in a race at Kentucky Downs in a tough turf race there. So I like this one, Sniper, because I think checks a couple of the boxes for me. There's enough turf pedigree there to make me like. I think the level fits for away from home, will be fit cutting back from longer races to 7.5 furlongs. And I think it's go time for this one, stepping foot on the turf. Away from home, 8-1 on the morning line. That'll only cost us $3,000 in our stable dual lineup. So I think a nice way to start the card with a horse that'll really set us up very well and give us a lot of wiggle room later on throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. When you take shots with horses like that, you definitely want to get a price. And they come out often because the public kind of gravitates towards the big stables and the big outfits and things like that. So you usually get some value there when horses fly under the radar like that.
Away from home is the 4 in race number 1. That'll be my first play of the day at Gulfstream Park. Barry's first play of the day is going to come in race number 4, and that'll be on the synthetic, my man. So talk to us about race number 4 and who you're looking at here.
Yeah, I don't know the weather report yet, but I know here in Daytona it's been raining all morning, so these races might come off, maybe the early ones and not the late ones. I'm not really sure yet. With that in mind, this race really won't be affected by that because it's on the synthetic, and it's a optional claimer, $20,000, going 5.5 on the synthetic. This is a tough race. This is like the median level for a lot of these races on the synthetic, and you get a lot of these horses that have just, a lot of wins going on to the synthetic for the first time maybe, but it's usually very, very not hard knocking types that go into this this level. And I ended up, because this race is kind of all over the place, I ended up on number 8, Super Success.
That's funny. I almost gave this horse out, and I will be throwing this horse into some early exotics. Talk to us about the 8.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of wins. He has the most wins of anybody in this race on the synthetic, albeit it was at Woodbine. But still, that still is a factor, because I know, not every track or every synthetic track is the same, but the synthetic kind of, they're not too far off,
Mm-hmm. Well, and in particular, the Woodbine horses have run well at Gulfstream.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And this horse has some races to go back to that are very, very competitive in this field. The one on May 19th at Woodbine, going 6, a win, got an 87 buyer. I mean, this horse has been kind of ascending up the class ladder a little bit, and kind of reached his peak at the $32,000 level. He drops back in here. The barn does very, very well with layoff types.
And you had a nice year last year, right? You ran 9 times throughout the year, and then you take a couple months off, and now you get ready to start back up this year. It all makes sense.
Exactly. And he's not going to be too far off. He can sit off the pace a little bit. He can be closer to the pace if need be. I think Edwin Gonzalez is a good judge of pace, and he'll be able to figure that out in comparison with everybody else. But I think this horse has a really, really good shot at 12-1.
12-1 player, Super Success for Barry. And if anyone out there is watching and you have a horse that you want to share with us, or maybe we are talking about a particular race and there's a horse in that race that you like a little, let us know. Shoot us a comment. We'll say hello. Hope everyone's having a great Friday morning. And a big thank you to Daily Racing Form as we take a look at the DRF past performances. Daily Racing Form PPs are always the one that we're pulling up because it's so simple to navigate through, where you can go to the race replays and then the charts, and you can click on pedigree information and owner trainer stats and really anything that you need. You have that database right there with DRF, and they're always having different sales throughout the weekends. They're always giving you opportunities to save money on the past performances. Let's flip to race number 5. You and I both have a play in the 5th race here. I am going to lean towards a horse who I think will be coming from off the pace. I am going to look at the number 2, Self-Made.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay. So Self-Made for me is another one that's coming in from Woodbine, but this one's going to be on the turf here. But what's funny, if for some reason this race gets taken off the turf and it's on the synthetic,
That's okay.
Self-Made won't mind. Self-Made is absolutely fine on the synthetic also, but I think is a little bit better on the turf and had legitimate trouble a couple starts back at Woodbine on November the 25th. That December 11th race just was probably a little too tough. That was a first level allowance race up at Woodbine. This race is a 25 starter, which isn't an easy spot, but it's a softer spot than that last race. Joel jumps aboard, so we have a great finisher there. And I just thought that, the 1 might go, the 4 might be forwardly placed. The 5 will probably be close up in here. You have the Win 99 who's going to go, and you have the horse right next door, Plenum, who's going to be close up, and not far now
11.
is stretching out from sprint races where they showed speed. So there might be 4 or 5 different horses that show some speed in here.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I kind of caught my eye is that December 11th race for Self-Made. You see the horses on the way outside, the 12 hole, and was
Had no shot.
wide. Yeah, just wide the whole way. The horse that won it, they ended up in a dead heat. Those are pretty good horses, a lot better than the ones that they're facing today. And I think this one just got some post position relief and some class relief. And like you said, all the speed up front. I think this one has a really, really good shot.
No one looks like Gaston. No one talks like Gaston. No one. They love me a little Beauty and the Beast. Gaston, he's a great
character.
heel. Yeah, just like a great character for like the movies. He's got a good look. Gaston, it's always fun to say too.
It's got the Gina Picola look.
Okay.
Jacked up like a WWE wrestler.
I was gonna say it would be like if I took like a super serum. You know what I mean? Like in one of those Marvel movies, somebody gave me a shot of something and I bulked up
Captain
a little bit.
America.
Or like the, in the movie The Mask, when the one bad guy puts the mask on and he's all jacked up. I think his name is Dorian in there. So good stuff. As Barry and I are both on a 12-1 shot, Self-Made, the number 2 in race number 5 today. Let's see if this one can come rolling late with Joel. So Barry, I think you have the 7th and the 8th as your next or you have the 8th as your next play.
Yeah.
I have the 6th and the 7th. So we'll just continue along for races 6, 7, and 8. Race number 6 is up next. And this one is a Florida bred maiden special weight race going 7 furlongs on the dirt. And I'm going to go to the 4 in here, a horse who ran really well and now has some experience, and that's Etratot. This guy debuted on December the 23rd. In that race, he got bumped around at the start. He settled maybe 3 lengths off or so on the inside, but a little bit of traffic, he got shuffled back. He was sitting now 7th, about 6 lengths off. He moves in between horses. He showed some late interest. He just misses 3rd. Now they're going to get Lasix for the first time. He's also a first-time gelding. You got the ultimate equipment change, and I think there's going to be that improvement showing up second time out. You get first-time Lasix, first-time gelding, Luis Saez jumping aboard for a horse who debuted at 6.5. It's not an easy distance to debut. I think there'll be a little bit of bottom here now for the 7 furlong race. So give me the number 4, Etratot, who is 6-1. I thought this horse should probably be more like a 4-1-ish shot in this race. So maybe we could get a little bit of value here with the 4, and that'll cost us. That's right at our par for Stable Duel. Right, this is exactly what we need, like $5,000 horses all the way through. So number 4, Etratot for me in a maiden special weight, and this should hopefully be another race that even if they do come off the turf, we won't have to worry about maybe scratches and changes for a horse like Etratot.
Actually, I do have some scratches.
Oh, okay.
For that race, the 7 is actually scratched.
Awesome.
Everybody else
Cool.
isn't.
Kozieris is out. So now we'll have just a field of 6 in here. And in a field of 6 that's going to be competitive, I'm always going to look to horses that are going to be the bigger prices, right? If you think the race is competitive to where you give the bigger prices a look, those are the horses I'm going to gravitate towards. So give me Etretat in here for Nicholas Palmer. That is my third of my 4 Gulfstream Park plays for Friday.
You know what's funny about that horse is the trainer and the rider. You know, they
Yep.
don't really do
Team
anything
up.
together. And,
Yep.
and it's like, why does Sias end up here out of all the horses he probably could have rode?
Because that always tips your cap a little bit to
Mhm.
thinking this horse might be live when you have the bigger riders show up for the smaller barn, and that's what we're getting here with Etretat. So I'll turn to the 7th race, and then Barry will finish us up in race number 8 for Friday at Gulfstream. Race 7, I'll be throwing one downfield, as my friend likes to say. I'm going to look for a price in here. This is a fun turf mile race where, you know, we remember Sol Volante from the Kentucky Derby. There are some horses that we've seen that have, you know, been running for a while. English Bee in here, breaking the rules. Moulage is a horse who came in from France and is going to take a lot of money. The blinks come on. Actually showed up in a graded 3 race and didn't run poorly at Gulfstream last year in March. I'm looking at this race, though. I don't see a whole ton of early speed in here. Sol Volante is not that quick. Moulage isn't all that fast early. Bay Street Money wants to sit and press. The 4 Red Dangers out. English Bee is a presser. First time gelding. He wants to sit pretty close. The 6 Sky's Not Falling is stretching. He's shown a little bit of speed, but even last time, I think he's best off sitting 2 or 3 lengths off. This 7 Proven Strategies has a little bit of a shot here to try to steal this race on the front end. So Proven Strategies, all 5 of his wins are going long. He's just been better going longer. All of his wins are from a mile to a mile and a 16th. So he had been going long for a while, and then they cut him back recently. And his races, when they cut him back sprinting, they're not that bad. Like he ran second at Monmouth Park in a 5.5 race, and he just missed. And then he came back and they sprinted him a couple more times. On October the 28th at Keeneland, he actually had a really good start. Just wanted to show the race. I've mentioned this a few times. He reminds me of a harness horse right now, like the way that he's set up. So he's the 3 in this race that we're going to watch. And remember, this was 5.5 on the turf. He's going to be going a mile on the turf in this spot. Like he's right on the lead here. He breaks right with the field, but they got to make a decision. He doesn't want to go to the front. He takes back a little bit. And now all of a sudden, instead of being on the lead, look where the 3 is. All the way back. He ends up getting back to like 10th in this field of 12 when he could have been sitting like in 3rd, like right in this top flight. Again, I don't know if he was going to win or lose this race or whatever, but he's in a bad spot. He ends up, you know, closing well. He loves Gulfstream Park. And now with the stretch back out in a race where there's not very much speed, I think the game plan for him has got to be pretty simple. It's just got to be go time. Like he looms up here and he's just kind of looking around for room. He tries to angle off. He runs into traffic again right here. Now he's he's able to move through a little bit, and you see him running late and showing some really nice energy. Last time he went a mile, he won right here at Gulfstream Park last year on March. You'll see him kind of late here up on the outside. I think that's a good race to set him up for this. And I just hope they get really aggressive with him and send him sniper, because I don't think he should have a whole lot of other pace opposition in here. The number 7 Proven Strategies at 15-1.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you know, that's a really good example of a couple of things, that race replay that you just showed. First, it gives you a really good idea of sprint speed versus route speed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the difference between this horse and you know,
That's
how
a
he
great
runs.
point.
And I think this sets up way better for him than
It's
any
like
of his
he's
sprint
fast,
races.
but not as quick, right?
Right.
Like
Yep.
there's a thing between being fast, but not sustaining that quickness with the sprinters. Whereas if he just breaks the same way he broke last time, he'll be on the lead
Right,
and not have
exactly.
to hurry to keep going. You know what I mean? To keep up with him. That's a really nice point that you mentioned right there.
And also it illustrates how difficult it is for closers to win at 5
Mm-hmm.
furlongs and less, or five
Yep.
and a half or less, or even 6. Um, that being said, I just would really love to speak to somebody, the manager, about why this horse was running in those kind of races anyway.
I know,
Um,
over and
it,
over,
it, you know,
because
I
once or
see,
twice, you know what I mean?
right,
Or like a cutback down the hill at Santa Anita for this horse would be awesome. Maybe,
right.
right? Like
Yeah, he'd be
that's
perfect.
it feels like
Perfect
he
for
would
that.
love that. But I agree with you. You see those sprint races, and then you just see you go back to the earlier part of his career where he was so much better going a little bit longer, and he likes this turf course. Give me proven strategies, sending hard on the front end. Let's see if we can wire this field in race number 7. So that finishes up the Friday Gulfstream for me. Barry's going to close us out in race number 8 for Friday. Who are we looking at in this 8th, buddy?
Yeah, the 8th race is another competitive, smaller field. Optional clamor, 6.5 furlongs on the main track. You have a big favorite on the inside, the one Nitrous Channel, who I'm going to side against here. I don't think that post position is that favorable. And I think there's also some horses that are actually quicker. I think this horse's lines might be a little bit um, inflated, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's run bad. He's run good every time.
But they might look a little bit better than he is in those
Yes.
races.
And
Mm-hmm.
because it just those 3 races, you see that he went into Hutchinson, which is a lower level stake, was favored, lost 50 cents on the dollar, then came off the layoff at this level. Why would you
Mm-hmm.
put this horse here at this level and then run him back? So, regardless of what happened, um, it seems like they may have aspirations for this horse to be a stakes winner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it doesn't seem like this horse should be back at this level. I could understand if they're going to take it slow, but it didn't seem like that because they went from a maiden into a stake, ran pretty well, but then comes back at this level.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a little fishy
There's
to me.
something that they seem like they're playing. I know what you're saying. Like there's just something a little bit off with the handling
Right.
that raises a little bit of a red flag for this horse at a big price, at a short price.
Really short price he's going to be. And you have a horse right outside of him, Palace Kitten, that has some speed. You have, a horse like Bourbon Creed, who's coming out of a maiden that probably will want to be forwardly placed. Kisselot has a lot of speed. Um, you know, that leaves me with the horse that I ended up going with was the 6, Too Much Action.
Nice.
And this is one of those kind of plays, and this goes out to rest in peace to Dave Litfin. This is another one of those buyer patterns that I learned from him. With young improving horses, although this horse just turned 4, but you see the horse ran pretty well on debut at Belmont.
Yep.
Then go almost a year or over a year later and runs a bang up race to break the maiden at Gulfstream at 6 furlongs. Then steps up into this level, kind of, is kind of figuring it out. That horse Octane is a pretty good horse, and then goes on a layoff, a semi layoff to November, and runs again evenly. Then they drop the horse into a non-winners of 2, and he airs. He runs off, wins by 2. But you see the buyers here. So that August 19th race was a 74 buyer. Then off the short layoff, ran a 57 and then a 75. And that tells me that this horse has another move up, has another improvement in him. And I think this might be the race that this horse gets that improvement and, doesn't want the lead. It's going to be close enough to the pace, not to lose touch. And I think that's when we'll run him down late.
I think what happens in races like this too, with horses like this, like in 2 months or at the end of the year, he may not be as good as 2 or 3 other horses in this race.
Probably not.
Right. But right now in this spot, this is the spot for him to run well and maybe take advantage of a horse like Giant Game who hasn't run in a long time. Right. Take advantage of the one who we're kind of thinking this is like not kind of a weird spot for Nitrous Channel. You have a horse like the 5 Judge Davis, who's also coming off a couple months of a break. So this is a multiple winner in a race where 5 of the other 6 rivals all have only 1 win, are a little bit less experienced. He kind of got that drop to get the confidence building win back up. Now he's going to go third start of his form cycle. As you mentioned, he's kind of been his own worst enemy. Like, he's had a couple of layoffs. He ran on an off track a couple different times, actually. And he probably has a few excuses in there too. Should get a nice trip. He's kind of sneaky. I don't think he's going to get bet hard because he doesn't have like overwhelming figures. He feels like a really nice 5-1-ish shot in here.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
So hopefully we can get you all set up for some Friday success at Gulfstream Park. There's a look at Barry's plays for Friday. There's a look at my plays for Friday. You have 2 different options. Gulfstream has a $50 triple up, or they have a $5 top 10 game. If you watch us on these streams, or maybe you've only played Stable Duel a few times, get involved today. You can play at Gulfstream for just $5. It only costs $5 to enter. You can have some fun, and you'll get action all throughout the day. You'll learn some strategy. It'll help you become a little bit better of a handicapper too, because you're going to have to think outside the box. You're going to have to try to get creative in 1 or 2 different races here. So there's a look at Gulfstream. Let's turn the page as we head to Santa Anita for Friday. So as of right now, everything looks good. It has not been raining over the last 24 hours or so. The rain is really supposed to come in Saturday, middle of the day, and then later into Saturday. That's why I'm not quite sure if Sunday is going to make it, because Sunday and into Monday, there could be a lot of wet weather. So I'm not really sure if they'll be able
When's
to.
When's that supposed to stop, man?
I know.
It's been raining for like 2 weeks.
It has. I think they've said that we've already had like more rain this year in the 2 weeks of January than like the last 4 years of altogether, which in Southern California, which is pretty nuts. So we need a little bit of this rain right now.
Not
hopefully
too much,
not too much to not too much to where we never get a chance to play these races here. Friday we get some opportunities to play the races at Santa Anita. So let's pull up the past performances for Friday. I'm actually going to start again in race number 1 at Santa Anita, because this one we will keep our fingers crossed. Should be on the turf going a mile. And I am looking at a bit of a price here to the outside. I'm looking at the number 9. That is Tappet Rocks. So first off, just looking at the pedigree for this one, Tappet Rocks Dam was unraced, but Tappet Rocks does have a couple multiple winning turf siblings. Incredible Luck was a 3-time winner on the turf. You have Sassy Serb, right?
Yeah, remember him.
That was your gal. Yeah, who I'm pretty sure you gave out at a 13-1 that ran like a really bang up second. I think was when we talked about her. 10 the Smart Way only tried turf the 1 time, but in looking at this family, you could see definitely turf with a couple multiple winning turf siblings. And so Tappet Rock's debut, a little bit sneaky. It was way back in April. And let's take a look at the deuce in here. So Tappet Rocks is the 2, and this is 6.5 furlongs on the turf. So not a great start, like a little unprepared, and then back towards the back of the pack here. So about 8 lengths off or so early on. There's a field. This is a group of 11. So sitting in like 9th of 11 down towards the inside, kind of running a little green there. But now we'll start to show a little bit of ability, and you kind of see this horse run in spots. Like right now, the 2 is settled. You see the gray down on the inside and is moving right into contention. Unfortunately, going to move right up into a wall of horses and nowhere to go. And some traffic right here, like right on the heels of rivals. So watch the gray have to just take up and get steadied all the way back, lose all that momentum. And I actually wonder, I don't like speculating about injuries, but you almost wonder if something happened right there when the horse had to take up and then back up, because this horse didn't race from April to December. But look at the horse still keep to the inside, Barry, and like try to come on again right here, even after being tired, but sort of like runs into some traffic again. Look at the 6 goes over on the 2, and the 2 even has to take up late again when the poor horse is just trying to get back into a rhythm. So this was way back in April. And following this, You have a long layoff. Tap It Rocks shows back up in December, but shows back up on the dirt and runs basically exactly like you would expect a horse to run off a long layoff. Shows a little bit of ability, kind of a few lengths off, and then backs up, is a little tired, and, fades. Now, for the first time ever, she's going to put 2 starts together. I think her turf race was really sneaky with that trouble that we showed and the pedigree that we showed. She gets back to the grass in here, and now she's going to stretch out, which means she'll just be more forwardly placed and hopefully not have to deal with some of that traffic. I don't know if she'll be like on the lead in here, but there isn't that much early speed when you go through the rest of the field. You have a couple of these horses stretching out from sprints that might just be closer. I would love if they got aggressive with this horse from the outside. I think there's some ability here, and I like that she puts 2 starts together. The number 4, Tap It Rocks, is 15-1 on the morning line. In Stable Duel, that'll only cost us $500 in our Stable Duel lineup. Let's see if we can catch a big price right off the bat to kick off the Friday card at Santa Anita with the number 9, Tap It Rocks.
Break the tote board. That one.
Let's do it. Let's blow things up. You're going to be looking at races 4 and 5. So I've got one more to take a peek at in the third race before we get to the 4th and the 5th with your plays. So this is a 6 furlong turf sprint that I'll be looking at in race number 3. And honestly, I just think this horse has been pretty solid on the grass and is probably going to be a little bit undervalued. I'm looking at the number 5 here, Gypsy Lynn. So Gypsy Lynn overall in her 8 starts, she's been in the money in 5 of them, and she has 2 fourths. She finished 5th in one race at Los Al where she just didn't really fire all that much. But most of her other form has been pretty solid and pretty consistent. And look at her turf races. She has 4 grass races. 2 of them were at Turf Paradise. They were both fine. She comes over to Santa Anita in a maiden $50,000 claimer on May the 8th. And she's a pretty good third that day after a slow start. She comes back on June the 5th in 2022, again in a turf sprint here in Southern California. This race came back very live. There were 3 next out winners out of this race, including a horse named Sweet and Cheeky, who came right back to win their next start in a 50 starter allowance. Grandiosely came back to win their next start at Los Alamitos. We also had Poet Laureate, who came back to win their next start, went over to Remington and won on the turf. So exiting a live race there, now gets back to the grass. Gypsy Lynn cuts back after having gone 6.5 in 2 starts. Second start off the short little break on the turn back. I like the number 5, Gypsy Lynn. She's 8-1 on the morning line. She'll only cost us $3,000. I think she fits really well with this group where there are no monsters. And she's a nice Stable Duel play at 8-1. So Gypsy Lynn for me. Couple plays in races 1 and 3 for me. And then I will hand the baton off to my good friend Barry, who's going to take us through race number 4 right next door. So you're going to be looking at maiden $40,000 claimers on the dirt here.
Yes, indeed. And handing the baton, that reminds me, my cousin is John Drummond.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's super fast.
Wow.
A lot faster than me and a lot shorter than me, though. So we'll just leave it there in case he's watching.
The baton has been passed, my friend. What are you going to do here?
All right. So this is another one that's kind of similar to that race at Gulfstream that we went over. But this is actually a maiden race, $40,000 maiden claimer on the main track going 6 furlongs. And I ended up on number 6, Katona. Now, you'll see in this race the 3 distorted math out of the Baffert barn is going to attract a lot of attention. Fast works. But if you look at that horse's one race, it was at Los Al, which you have to kind of be like, well, why would he start this horse there of all places? Usually he goes there to win, just the stake races, and that's it. He unveiled this horse at Los Al, which to me is a red flag, regardless of how the horse ran. And he didn't even win at 40 cents on the dollar. He wasn't the first horse out of the gate either that day, which is concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you look at the rest of the horses in this race, and I don't think there's really any speed. I mean, you could see the one who has root speed, but
Mhm.
we just kind of went over that and said it's not the same thing. The 2, Famous Star, another horse that just flames up
It's more
money.
of a presser. Yeah.
Right, and he flames up money. He's lost 3 times as the favorite. The last time being 50 cents on the dollar.
And honestly, I'm more of a Big Mac guy myself. You know what I mean? Like the Whopper, they do it a little bit better for me than that Famous Star, you know?
I'm with you. I'm with you. So that leads me to the 6, Katona. Now, whenever you see Doug O'Neill put Edwin Maldonado on a horse, you have to assume that they want to go to the lead. And I think this horse is faster than everybody else in here.
Mhm.
So it could be almost like a lone speed situation. I love the draw going outside, just going to outsprint these horses early. And really, from my assessment, just if this horse gets in front of Distorted Math, the 3, I don't think this horse looks back.
I
And
like this. I like this play too a lot. And in knowing the barn, one thing that this barn has always done well, and in just talking with them, like they look for horses just like this to claim that were good horses or horses that debuted against better that like showed some speed against better in their maiden special weight races and like highly regarded races. This race with Montebello, Flying Drummer, and Oviatt class back here in 2021 of August, like that's a good maiden special weight race. And he's involved showing speed in those races. And that's what the O'Neill barn looks for. Horses that have like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like what you see sports teams do. Like the Dodgers will do this a lot of the time where they'll go get a pitcher who's coming off a bad year. Right.
Yeah.
But know that they have ability, and maybe you can tweak 1 or 2 things, change the way that they, where their release point is, change the way that they like their pitch structure is, or like, how they just something that you can change, but the horse has ability. O'Neill does this all the time with these horses that drop from maiden special weights. And the first time they drop in for a maiden claiming tag, he goes and gets them.
Yep.
And some of them work out great. And then others like this, they'll be gone for a year because there was some kind of a
he was a project. You could tell this
know?
horse is definitely a project. And, with that in mind, I like the work tab. You see the steady work tab from November 26th to January 8th.
Not in any hurry or any rush to get him back, right? Get him built back up. Lasix, gelding, and the outside draw, I think, is perfect for him, as you mentioned, because they can break and then look over and see. And if that horse flies and they want to sit right outside, okay, cool. But if not, just go and get in front.
Yep, exactly. And I think that he has a really good shot. In comparison to the rest of the field, it's kind of, you had to really look at this race.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Like usually, I'm going to confess, I don't really do a lot of quote unquote handicapping. I spend a lot more time putting together bets, but I had to look at this one a little bit longer than normal. Because I could tell that, I didn't want to, obviously I was trying to beat the Baffert horse in this race. And I was just trying to figure out how, and I kind of stumbled upon how this could, this race could set up, especially with the 1 being kind of phony speed. It looks like it on paper, like you see the 1s and you see the horse up close, but he's not really as fast as the others.
No.
And then the only other horse that shows speed is the one that kind of is, at this point, I think might be a chronic loser in Famous Star, who's probably going to get bet also. So we're going to get a price. This horse is going to have a trip. I trust that Edwin's going to get this horse in position to win. Whether it's, he's good enough or not is really the question. But I think he's going to get a good trip. And if he's not good enough today, I'm definitely putting this horse in the stable mail for later use.
Absolutely. Katana, 6-1 for the Sniper, will only cost us 5,000 in our stable duel lineup. So a 6-1 shot for Barry in race number 4. I think we're both right next door in race number 5. And I'll see you a 6-1 shot, and I'll give you another 6-1 shot right here. The one.
The one.
Give me the loot.
That's it.
Oh, look at us.
That's who I'm on. Another one. Lone speed.
This horse, exactly. This horse can fly, and there is nobody in this field that is nearly as fast as him. Look at his last 3 races. Look at the fractions in the 2 races where he didn't run well. in that last race.
Smoking.
They went 42-41 to the half mile going down the hill. They went 21:07, and he was right there in the mix with them. 2 starts back on November the 27th, when he doesn't have to go quite as fast, he runs really well. He finishes second that day behind Motorius, who just came back and beat him in his next start. This is a nice horse too. Motorius, who came over for Phil D'Amato and has now put together back-to-back wins and has done like very little wrong in his races here in Southern California. And what I also like about him, not only can he fly, but when you go a little farther back in his form, Barry, I don't really have any concerns about him getting the distance here. This is a horse who's won going long.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know,
definitely got that down. I think the key was getting him off of the downhill. I think that it just plays better to his strengths, not coming down the hill going 21:42.
yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? This just sets up a lot better. I like the rail draw actually, even though
Me too.
it's a little bit awkward, but I think this horse is just faster and will be faster out of the gate than all these, and will be able to get himself a nice spot.
Yeah, you look at Canderel isn't as quick. Manitowish is not nearly as quick. The only horses that you would think could show some speed in here would be like the 3, who's nowhere near as fast as the 1.
Not even close. Yeah.
Not even
And
close.
Commander Kai.
And Commander Kai, who's not even close to as fast. And Mongolian Memory isn't, neither is Rebel Posse. Those are the pressers or the speed horses. This horse draws the rail. Johnny V's aboard. You're dropping back in class after taking a shot against a couple tougher, and it's send hard from the inside. Gimme the loot. Barry and I already have come together twice. Today. One with Gulfstream, one with Santa Anita. So that finishes up Barry's Friday Santa Anita plays. I've got one more right next door, and then we'll turn the page to Gulfstream for Saturday. Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out with us here on this Friday morning. Remember, we'll be here with you every Friday morning, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific time. And for the next 4 months or so, it'll be a lot of Gulfstream, a lot of Santa Anita. We'll have some Tampa in there every now and then. Keeneland will join the party when they come in a couple months. But I'll finish up at Santa Anita with the number 3 in race number 6. This one's Shanghai Sunrise. Now, this mare is one that I actually like quite a bit. I look at her last 8 races, and honestly, I can make good sense of every race since she's come into the Pipey barn. She was a very impressive 6.5 length winner back in January of 2021. Following that race, she steps up. She has a little bit of trouble. She faces winners, but she doesn't run all that badly. She finishes 4th in a race where she drew the rail. She's only beaten a couple lengths. She comes back on April the 11th. She wins. So she's won 2 out of 3 starts. This is her second victory. She beats optional 50 claimers. Then a starter allowance on the turf. Has some trouble, just doesn't run on the grass. That's her only turf race. I think it's easy to eliminate that race. Following the May race, she's on a 7-month layoff. She's off from May. She shows back up in January. In January, when she shows up, she has legitimate trouble that day at this level, this Calbred first level allowance. Then on February the 20th, she runs really well. 7 furlongs is just a little too far for her. She actually hits the front, and then she tires, if you can see in her running line, and she just gets run down late. She then cuts back to 6 furlongs on April the 1st. Again, she moves to the lead. She fades. She finishes behind Rose Maddox, who comes out of that race to win. And that was actually one of her better races, Shanghai Sunrise there. Again, though, that race is followed by another long layoff. She shows back up in December. She's kind of close up. She's 3 deep out of 4. She gets pushed back. She comes on again. She looms up, and then she tires, just like we would expect because it was her first start in like 8 months. Now she should be really, really fit. I think she's she fits at the class level, and her running style puts her right in the race. I think everything could come together for a nice effort for her, Barry. Both of her wins have been at Santa Anita too, so this is the track that she seems to like the most. She's going to fly under the radar with Valdivia and Pipey because we're not talking about like huge mainstream connections here. I think she will be around 10-1. It'll only cost us 1,000 in our stable dual lineup, and she's a really nice late pick 4 type horse to use.
I'm on that. I like this pick.
Shanghai
sniffed out a nice one.
Shanghai Sunrise. Sometimes we got to do a little archaeology. We got to do a little digging sometimes right there. Yeah. And when we go through everything that she's done for the Pipey Barn, it's all pretty good work. And you can understand what he's been doing. And, you know, when she goes off to the layoff and comes back and maybe she needs a race or two here and there, Shanghai Sunrise, 10-1. So think about this. For Friday, we have given you 8-1, 12-1, 6-1, 15-1, 15-1, 12-1, 8-1, 6-1, 10-1. We did our best. We gave you some prices for Friday for both Gulfstream and for Santa Anita. So, my man, we threw out some plays for Friday. Let's head over to Gulfstream Park for Saturday. Let's flip the page over there for Saturday. Gulfstream, I'm sure, get a lot of extra money on Saturday with no Santa Anita. Some of those folks that might have been playing the Santa Anita races on Saturday, I'm sure we'll put some of their bankroll over to Gulfstream Park. So, Barry, where are you looking for your plays at Gulfstream for Saturday?
Races 3 and 6.
Races 3 and 6. Okay, let's head to race number 3 and let's talk about the third race. Set us up for race number 3 as I pull up the PPs and let us know who you're looking at here.
Sure, it's a maiden special weight, $84,000, going 1 mile on the turf course. And you know what's funny is I just don't understand why they card the mile on the turf and then the 7.5 on the turf, because
I know it's
really close.
I know,
and I think it's like Chuck Simon told me it was like, you know, a couple hundred feet maybe. The distance, you know, the difference between the 7.5 and a mile, but it's weird. But anyway, this one seems like a wide open race, and pace wise, you have somebody who probably will be on the lead in Prime Nova, the 9 horse, and another horse, you know, who tends to quit. You know, if you look at Prime Nova's past performances, it's on the lead, and then stops somewhere, you know, at the top of the stretch and gets swallowed up like pretty much every time. I don't think that's going to change on Saturday, because I think the 2 horse Expand the Map is going to be out there with that horse too. And maybe even Empress at War. I mean, I know Paco likes to get his horses involved earlier. I know this is kind of the horse cut back from a mile and a quarter to a mile and a 16th, and kind of did the same exact thing. The layoff might do this horse a little bit of good, but I'm still going to side elsewhere. I'm going with number 3.
Oh, again we're on the same horse.
Yeah,
this one.
I think this horse is you know, going to fly a little bit below the radar, considering the 5 War Princess is probably going to take some action. You know, it just looks like this horse is going to be in the right spot at the right time, kind of, you know, falls into a right trip, you know, with the speed and everything. I think this horse is going to be right in the second flight. I like the, you know, being in the 3 spot. He's definitely faster than the 1, and the 2 is going to go. So that just leaves a nice slot for this horse to get in. And Jose Ortiz rides that turf course just as well as anybody. In fact, I was saying the other day, you know, I need to look up the stats. I can't remember the last time Jose Ortiz won a race at Gulfstream on the dirt, to be honest.
It's all turf. Yeah. It's all turf.
And he's coming to his own as a turf rider, really. But I think he's on a live one here.
The debut race at Churchill was behind Jag Warrior, who came back to win the next start. I think got put up in that second start. Then on a couple months off, shows back up on December the 15th in a race that was supposed to be on the turf, was taken off the turf. And what I like is that even after a slow start, was forwardly placed, kind of moved into contention, faded that day, but got the fitness that we want, and now gets to the turf. And if we look at this horse's turf pedigree, so the Dam Shared Heart only tried turf 1 time but ran really well, finished second on it. And look at what she's produced. She's produced 4 foals to try the turf. 3 of them are very good, including Chewing Gum, who is a grade 2 winner, is grade 1 placed, was second in the Jaipur, grade 2 winner down the hill at Santa Anita. Actually, that one wasn't down the hill. That was just 6.5 on the Hernandez, but going 6.5 has been a really nice turf horse that's earned over $500,000 on the grass. You look at Multiple is a multiple winner on the turf. Indian Heart has hit the board on the turf a couple times, and Lemon Sita has won on the turf. So 3 of the 4 siblings are turf winners. The one that didn't win on the turf has hit the board on the grass twice. So I think the green is going to really improve this horse. And like you said, I don't think she's going to be on the lead. I think she'll probably be sitting like 3rd or 4th.
Yeah,
In a
has
really
some
nice
experience. When I noticed that with Pletcher, his horses after they're on the track, they really tend to. I don't know what he does or who's working with these horses, but they tend to settle and they listen to the riders. I mean, it's almost uncanny. But I think this was the plan all along. Because they tried to get this horse on the turf first off the layoff, and I think it just didn't work out. And it probably, once it came off the turf, they probably called the audible and was like, yeah, we're probably going to try to go and see what we got. And I think the turf was what they had in mind the whole time.
So 3 times out of the 7 horses we came together that you had. That's pretty cool that we had 3 of them where we were seeing the same thing. I'm going to flip to race number 5 on the Saturday card at Gulfstream Park. This is a fun maiden special weight races. There are a couple good maiden special weight races on the Saturday card. This one, I'm going to use the horse with the experience here, and that's the number 10, Al Atlassi. I think some of the other first timers in here will probably take a lot of money. You've got the Pletcher, Sergeant Pepper, who's going to get money. I think Armstrong will take some money. You have another Pletcher here, Cuvier, who's going to take some money, no doubt about it. So I think at least those 3 are going to get bet. This 10 horse is the only horse in here who has like a good race. There are only 3 horses who have any races of experience in this field of 11, and Al Atlassi actually debuted going 6.5 and now cuts back. What's up, Pete? How you doing? Pete Aiello, the voice of Gulfstream Park, as we take a look at Al Atlassi's debut race. So was the number 6 in the race that we're watching here. I thought this was a really good effort. The horse is close up, right with the top group, but has to sit a little bit wide here. And honestly, that's what ends up being the difference in the race for Al Atlassi. First time out, you'll notice he's in the 4, almost the 5 path here, having to be like widest of all. So close up, some good early tactical speed in the mix, but wide, giving up all this ground. Al Atlassi makes the big move all the way up. Right now, 4 wide contending all the way up to take the lead at the top of the lane. But as expected, the wide trip just ends up catching up with this horse a little bit, as I think it would with most horses who are 5 deep and then 4 deep throughout. It's not as if he just stops. He's trying here, but these are some other nice horses. He still got the lead at the top of the lane. He just wasn't able to kind of get over and even put one of them away. So he had these 2 horses inside of him throughout that were just making life more difficult. Even now, after he's done, he doesn't completely just pack it in. I think he's still trying pretty hard here. And he actually out finishes the 5 down there where the 1 comes on the scene late. I just like horses like this in a race with experience. I think he's not going to really get bet all that much because of these other firsters. I like Al Atlassi here, drawn to the outside, because now, Barry, if he sits wide again on the cutback, I'm not quite as worried about it as much. He'll be a little bit fitter. We've already seen him use that wide trip and perform well going wide. Hopefully they can just work out a little bit better trip for the experienced Al Atlassi.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a good debut, and I like that. He got into a little bit of a fight, gets Lasix, Definitely
the
sets up well for him.
And now the cutback. So that is race number 5. The number 10, who is 6-1 on the morning line. That one will only cost you 5,000 in your stable duel lineups. Barry's got one more for Friday, for Saturday at Gulfstream. I've got a couple more. Barry, talk to us about race number 6 for Gulfstream Park on Saturday. I believe that's your next play.
Yes, it's a $75,000 optional claimer going 7.5. Haha.
Nice, I know.
Turf course. Yeah, this is a nice little race here.
It is a
and
good
I think
group.
there's some potential for a little bit of chaos because the horses that are going to get bet, obviously big outfits. You're going to get Sendero, the 8, Pletcher, Irad. Definitely going to get bet no matter what anybody says. This horse is going to get bet. Then the outside horses, another Pletcher horse, Pletcher Saez.
Yep.
OK Boomer, who won his debut. And I actually, that's one thing that I kind of pay attention to a little bit is when a horse wins first time out and they're not the far outside horse and then they go to the far outside, usually they don't run as well. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the different kind of trip they're going to get and so on. So now you go back to the inside. You have Safi has a horse and Shug. Both first time in America, which tells me they probably are not going to be that speedy. Usually horses that come over from Europe are not quick out of the gate.
Or it'll at least take them a couple races to get familiar with the speed here. Yep.
Right. Exactly. So we're gonna poo-poo them for this race anyway. We might come back to them at a later date. But I ended up on number 4, Master of None.
Yep.
And I think this horse just is another one that slides into a spot that this horse will get a good trip. Whether it wins or not is another story. But I like the young raced, the lightly raced horses like this that come back off a nice layoff and run a better number than they did before they went on the layoff. This one fits that to a T. Was on the synthetic. Trombetta has nice numbers. First time turf, first time blinkers, second off a layoff. All fits. Edwin Gonzalez riding great. Blinkers on. First time Lasix. Makeover package. They're going to try to win this race.
Yep.
That's
I agree.
What that's telling me. So, despite.
And they they're trying to win this race, whereas like the 1 and the 2, like you were pointing out, this might be the starting point for them, right? Coming into a new barn, coming in from overseas, horses that haven't raced from October and September of last year. Hey, let's get a race under their belt. And then, then we might be ready to win in their next start or their third start. This horse looks like he's in this race to win this race and should be like peaking and have a good performance on Saturday.
And that's what I'm banking on it, especially at 10-1. I couldn't resist a horse like this. And I didn't really do a deep dive into the pedigree, but I know Candy Rides, and Union Rags Dam, this horse should be able to run all day.
Yeah,
so
there's not there's not a
problem.
lot direct in the pedigree, which I kind of like because there's enough turf there already with the pedigree, so you don't need to see like a bunch of direct siblings that have won. Master of None, which I believe was the was that the Aziz Ansari show? I think so.
Yes.
On
yes.
Netflix. Yeah,
Yes.
It was that Aziz show, it was a good show. It was. Yeah. I never know with some of these guys who kind of get canceled though or not. Like, can I bring that? Like, oh, he kind of did something. I don't really know. Yeah, but
his cancellation was a little shaky.
It was. It was like a half cancel, right? Yeah.
Right.
It
wasn't like Charlie Rose or Matt Lauer or anything like that. But it was a little, if there's a scale in those kind of things, which sounds awful, but his wasn't as bad.
Yeah. I agree. Master of None with the blinkers coming on today feels like he's very well spotted in there. In race number 6. So I have a couple a little later on the Saturday card that I will run through. And one of them I wanted to give a shout out because I know our buddy Matt would have wanted to mention this horse. And I think Sarah El Badwi mentioned this horse the other day on social media.
Barnes.
And then Matt talked about, Matt said, oh, I'm in. So the number 6 Way Hill Road in race number 8 is a horse making their second start for Shug McGahee, and this guy is a brother to Midnight Bourbon, who Matt loves, is one of Matt's favorites here.
Yes.
He was chasing this guy quite a bit. This horse has a nice pedigree because he's a half sibling to Midnight Bourbon, Gervin, who's a millionaire and a grade 1 winner, Pirates Punch, who's earned almost $400,000 and is a graded stakes winner, multiple graded stakes winner, I believe, and was in a lot of like big, tough stakes races. Cocked and Loaded has earned $497,000, is another graded stakes winner. And even this runner here broke their maiden at Oaklawn Park against Tough Maiden special weights. This is a strong pedigree. This dam has dropped only nice horses and horses that have performed well. In Wayhill Road, in the debut, was 4th for a barn that doesn't really crank horses up first time out, and that usually lets them, lets them get their fitness and lets them gradually, work their way into racing. Wayhill Road also debuted in a race that's come back very live. The winner, Victory Formation, won the Smarty Jones, is 3 for 3, and is one of the top 3-year-olds right now. I'm in a fantasy horse racing league next week. This is one of the horses I'm looking at,
There you go.
as a nice 3-year-old. Release McCracken, the runner-up, came back to win 2 in a row. First level allowance race at Fairgrounds just recently. So this was a strong race in which Wayhill Road debuted, has a nice pedigree and a very good barn. And I had to give a little shout out to Maddie here for Midnight Bourbon with Wayhill Road. So this is a good race. Like,
Yeah, bold move, because there's a lot of buzz on this Kings Barnes horse.
Yep. And these races are like what Gulfstream Park are like.
Yeah,
They've
this
made
is
special
a
weight.
loaded 2-year-old
Like,
race.
this is a strong group. Like, if Sarah Shaman is a nice horse, it would not shock me at all. This horse, Archangelo's got some ability, debuted in the slop too. I expect that one to step forward. Prairie Dunes almost broke the maiden a couple starts back at Churchill Downs. Fun race in race number 8 on Saturday.
8-1 on a horse that costs $1.6 million.
I know. Yeah, 1 point with a huge pedigree like that too. Wayhill Road, bred to be a nice one. Right next door at Gulfstream in the 9th, it's the Sunshine Millions. It's the Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf. Now, you have a couple stakes races in race 9 and 10. They're both for Florida breds, and I'll take a quick peek at both. The 9th race, the number 9 is who I'm looking at. Mona Stella in here. So this is a mile turf race for Florida breds, and Mona Stella's form, I think, really adds up. Mona Stella had some really good grass races, then tried the dirt back in February of 2022 off a long layoff, just didn't fire that day. No problem. Comes right back on the grass, runs a really good third, then tries Stakes Company, runs a good third, steps up in the Modesty. A mile and an eighth was a little too far. Grade 3 Company was a little too tough, and she runs into Bleecker Street that day, who was one of the sharpest horses over the last couple years. Bleecker Street was 7 for 8. It was a grade 1 winner. And look who else was in this race too. She Can't Sing came out of this race to win and was in really nice form. This horse has earned over $800,000. Past the Plate is a good horse in Louisiana. Like, this horse runs well in some races at Fairgrounds too. So that was a strong group for the 9 who has faced Mona Stella. Now, I think the pattern is perfect. That was in the Modesty. Then at the end of the year, they take a shot in a first level allowance at Belmont. That's actually in June, but that was the end of the year for her because she goes to the bench for 6 months. She shows back up on December the 18th, and at 5 furlongs on the synthetic, that's a total prep for her just to get her ready for this race. They prep her there. Now they stretch her back out to a mile. She takes the blinkers off. She's drawn to the outside. I think it's go time. I think they're probably going to try to send her, get her out front, and she can relax with the blinkers coming off in here. Second start off the bench, Mona Stella, multiple winner on the turf at Gulfstream. She likes the trip here. I think she's going to be forwardly placed from the outside here, Barry. I think she fits pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially at 10-1.
10-1, because Sugar Fix is going to take a lot of money. This is an 11-time winner, and she's very honest. And the number 4, Sweet Danny Girl, this filly has ability. She probably needs a race for her best, but last year she was really good in a couple of these races here. So Sweet Danny Girl is one I'll keep an eye on, but like you were saying, I'll keep an eye on her when she shows back up next. Aval will take a good amount of money. She's actually bred nicely for the grass, but I'm going to give the 9, Mona Stella, a look in here. So 10-1 on the morning line, 1,000 in your stable dual lineups for Saturday. I've got one more to finish up in race number 10 as Milo heads off to school. Adios, big man. Adios, big man.
School? He already knows it all.
I know. Let's finish up in the Sunshine Sprint. And in the Sunshine Sprint, all I need is to stop at the 1, Lightning Larry. I think Lightning Larry can steal this race. Lightning Larry is really quick, and Lightning Larry draws the rail in here. So I think that's just going to force him because he draws the rail. Gatsby is more of a pressing type. Unsociable, same thing. Legends Can't Die isn't quite as fast as that one. Legends Can't Die has shown speed going longer, which Barry and I have already pointed out a few times today. The difference between that route speed and sprint speed. Legal Deal is kind of quick, but I think a little more of a presser. Boca Boy will show a little bit of speed, but not like Larry. And then you've got Cajun's Magic here. From the inside, Lightning Larry is a grade 3 winner. Lightning Larry is classy. Probably needed his race last time out a little bit coming off a few-month break. I think he'll be sharper. And we saw this with the other horse that you and I mentioned at Santa Anita, Barry, Gimme the Loot earlier. If a horse is a good starter and they're fast, I don't mind if they draw the rail. In fact, it's kind of a benefit sometimes. If you know they're going to break well and just go, give me the shortest way around.
Oh, yeah. I have a Lightning Larry story, actually.
Let's hear it.
His win and Chick Lang, it was Preakness Day, and I was at Epcot. And when this race was going off, I was in line for the Ratatouille ride.
Oh, that's so great.
And I was like, kind of getting a little feisty and loud in the line because I had
You're watching like on your phone, right?
I had a big bet on Lightning Larry.
And he's 12-1 that day.
Yeah, he came through. And it wasn't easy because he was pressed, he was pressing the whole time. Didn't really get any separation, but lasted, and it was good. Yeah, that paid for my whole trip, to be honest with you.
Lightning Larry, if you were at Epcot and you see Barry whipping him in line that day, get up, Larry, screaming for Larry in line with Breezy looking over going, Dad, come on, man. Come on, Dad. But Breezy's screaming there with you, I bet.
Oh, yeah, she was on it.
She was screaming there with you for Larry. So hopefully Larry can close out the Saturday races for us on a positive note. In one of the final races on the card on Saturday. There are 11 races, but this is the final of the stakes races there on Saturday. And there'll be a lot of focus at Gulfstream on Saturday with no racing at Santa Anita. And we'll all be diving in to the stable duel games at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Once again, a big thank you to Daily Racing Form. I think that's always the place you need to go if you're looking for past performances. If you're looking to research a race, head to drf.com. All the tools that you need. As you've seen when you hang out with us on these shows, we could pull up the charts. We could pull up the pedigree information. We could pull up the race replays with one click. It's very convenient, very easy for us to do. Barry, my man, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope you crush it. Everyone out there, hope you all make some money this weekend. When you hang out with us for just a minute, I really appreciate it. I know there's so many other great shows, stuff that you can watch on your streaming services, all sorts of things you can do with your time when you come and hang out with us. We really, really appreciate it. Shout out to our buddy Matt DeSantis. He'll be back with us again next week. Download the Stable Duel app. It is totally free to do. And
look at that. The sun's out. Let's go.
The sun is out. Look at it shining through right here in Southern California. So that's good for today here in SoCal. Barry, you have a fantastic weekend, buddy. I always love chatting with you. Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out. And in the next few months, we're going to get the show to be a little bit more interactive. We're going to start giving out some prizes again. We'll give out some entries for Stable Duel. We'll give out a couple best bets. We'll read through a lot of your comments if you want to share horses with us. I love interacting with the folks. When I was working at TVG, that was one of my things. I worked a lot of times alone. I would work the shifts from like 3 to 7 and when there was nobody else, and I'd be covering a few different races, and interacting with all the folks out there was my favorite thing. We were called the most socially interactive show in all of horse racing way back in the day. I had to steal a line from my guy, The Miz. So had to do that one. Barry, talk to you later, my friend. Have a great weekend. We're going to talk to Joey Cleveland right now. Joey, take it away.